Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. Thank you very much for joining me. I am your host, Kyle Walker, and we are joined by a special guest this week. Coming back because she really can't stay away at this point is producer Katie. Hello, producer Katie.
You know you love it.
Absolutely. I always like it when there's people on the show. More of other people, less of me equals wonderfulness. And then also back is our good friend and trainer, Pete, from the Upstate Performance Project out of Greenville, South Carolina. Pete, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be back talking to the Kansas City crowd.
Your old stomping grounds, Kansas City.
Yeah, I was just there this weekend. I came back to visit my kids and hang out with them. I got a daughter going to KU now, so I had to go visit her and see her dorm room, all that good stuff.
Man, it's a good time to be a KU fan with their football team doing as well as they are.
Yeah, she's loving it. It's good freshman year for her.
Katie, what do you think about that? The success of KU football. You okay over there?
I'm crying a little bit and vomiting a little bit. It's an odd sensation, but I will work through it. It's totally fine. I really honestly, just the fact that Pete has a daughter that old is also making me feel a kind of way because, oh.
Yeah. Well, if you all will remember, I don't know, about a month ago, maybe a month and a half, we had Pete on to talk about just basic running tips and good health. So we're going to try and have him on as he knows infinitely more than I do about being healthy. And the reason that we're on this week, and this was something that just spawned out of my poor little brain as I was sitting around eating Halloween candy that did not go out to trick-or-treaters, I was thinking to myself, this probably is not great. This is not good for a guy who is attempting to stay in shape and run races and even just go out for runs to just sit around and eat candy. So really, we're just going to go with complete scare tactics here. Pete, what are we doing to ourselves while we're eating all the leftover Halloween candy?
Not a lot of good, that's for sure. The general rule of thumb, you pick one or two favorites, and for that day and maybe a couple of days after, that's it. Then throw it away, give it away, whatever you got to do to get it out of your house. Because, the candy, it's just, it's obviously not needed. But again, I looked in my kids' bag, see what they had. One or two is not going to be a big deal. Eating the whole bag of candy, big deal.
But Pete, There are starving children in this world, and I would feel really bad if I threw all that yummy goodness out.
Yeah, right. Starving children, if you give them that much sugar all at one time, if they've been literally starved, it's going to hurt them. So they don't need it. So you're good.
Fine.
Yeah, no,
sorry. Killjoy.
That doesn't sound great. So I have noticed, because I kind of supplemented candy for a few meals, like it really does affect you if you're going out for a run. Because what is your body doing? Because of course, we're putting in sugar. So we're burning in the sugar, but that burns off super fast and then just leaves you drained. Am I kind of on the right path in that assessment?
Yeah, exactly. That's almost exactly right. The sugar, the type of sugar that you're getting through the candy is, simple sugars that are easily digested and burned right away. If they're in your bloodstream, you'll use them right away. They won't last long. And then if you have nothing else or no other quality fuel in your tank, you're going to crash pretty quick. You're going to run out of energy pretty quick.
So what is something, just help us out here. You said if we have like kind of the good fuel in us, what's some good fuel to kind of help get rid of this candy? Give us some ideas on better ways to fuel up.
Sure. So the main thing is any holiday, just Halloween, Thanksgiving, as you mentioned, Christmas coming up. The main thing is to stay consistent with your normal nutrition plan. People, want to think that, it's the holidays, I'll just let loose for a little bit, or it's one day. And I agree that, you should have some fun. We never want to be too restrictive. So on Thanksgiving, if you want the stuffing and you want the pumpkin pie and you want all those things, do it, but have one plate. Have one plate, have it, and then that's done. There's no need for leftovers all that day and the next day and the next day, and unless it's just leftover like another regular portion size. Right. It's the mentality of it's the holidays, so I can do more, or that's just how it is, versus saying, it's the holidays, I'm going to avoid everything and I'm going to be super strict. Because what happens the minute you're not super strict, your motivation goes way down. Your not only motivation, but your self-efficacy. You don't feel good about your ability to be able to stay strong to get through the holidays and not overeat goes down. So allow yourself to have a couple pieces of candy. Allow yourself to have normal sized portion of everything if you want, but just one plate. And then the next day have one normal sized plate of leftovers, not 3 or 4 trips on Thanksgiving and, get that tryptophan coma. But
I feel personally attacked right now. I don't know about you, Kyle.
I'm hearing a lot of things I didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
I get a lot of grief, especially, in the last few years being remarried, in a new family, going to Thanksgiving traditions. I'm not a huge guy, but I'm bigger than some of the other guys in the family, and they're out eating. They're getting, 4 or 5 rounds. I'm getting one, and they're like, "Don't you want more? You're here, have more. You're a bigger guy. Eat more, eat more." I'm like, "Could I? Yeah." I mean, if you're challenging me, sure. But no, right. The idea is I want it and I'll have it. But guess what? I'll have it again tomorrow. And, if there's left on the third day, I'll have one more plate of that. So it'll get eaten and I'll get to enjoy it more than once, but I don't have to do it all in one sitting. And I think it's just that mentality of, oh, it's one day I can just go crazy. Well, again, in the grand scheme of life, it may not be the biggest, detriment. But if you are training, if you are thinking about your health, if you are on a running schedule, things like that, gorging yourself that one day is not going to do you any favors. Right. Your body won't be able to process all of that. So you're going to excrete most of it anyways. I won't get too gross into that. But to answer your question more directly, whatever meal plan you're following, follow it up to the holiday. The day after the holiday, get right back on your regular plan. The day of the holiday, feel free to partake in stuff that may not be good for your diet, like the pumpkin pies and the pecan pies or whatever candies are laying around on the holidays. Have 1 or 2 of them. Don't restrict yourself, because again, it's life should be fun. You should enjoy those holidays with your family. And part of that is good food. And I'll say this as a personal example. Every once in a while, I like soda. I love Coke or Pepsi. I really don't care either one, but I like cola and I rarely drink it. But when I do, I'm like, you know what? I want a Coke today. I'm going to have a Coke today. That one 12-ounce can has, I don't even know the calories, a couple hundred calories, and they're completely empty calories, no nutritional value. It's a treat. And I view it as a treat. That I had a treat today. So some people might have a Snickers bar. I'll have a Coke once every 2 or 3 months. But you notice when the trainer has a Coke in his hand, everyone focuses on that.
Yep.
If you looked at what we're eating or what we promote all week, that one Coke is not going to be a big deal. So think of the holidays in that fashion. One day having all of that stuff is not going to be a huge deal, but the next day you're right back where you need to be.
So let's go back to the one plate thing. For you, is that's your habit? You have formed that habit over time that it's one plate and done, or is it total mental discipline? Do you have to talk yourself out of going back for seconds, thirds, fourths?
Yeah. Yes, I talk myself out of it. I mean, it is habit at this point because I've been doing that for a while, and I've done that for a while for this exact purpose. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the idea of just eating a ton on the holiday, turning the football game and falling asleep and not watching a single down of the football game.
Yep.
Because who wants to watch the Lions on Thanksgiving Day anyways? But
well, I mean, who wants to watch the Lions? I mean,
period.
Okay. Anyhow, it's something that I've taught myself and I tell myself to do simply because I want to enjoy everything that's being put in front of me, whoever's cooking. And I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to sit down and enjoy it. But that's not the green light to just go crazy. And if I enjoy it and I think, okay, I've had everything I wanted to have, I wouldn't do that in every other meal. Like, for example, if I go to Texas Roadhouse and get a chicken fried steak, I like that. But if they had an all-you-can-eat buffet of chicken fried steaks, that doesn't mean I'm going to get 6 of them, even if I could put 6 of them down. It's you wouldn't do that anywhere else. That's my point. Treat it just like another day. This is the meal for the day, and there's a lot of great stuff. And maybe some things, I'm talking like the desserts specifically, that you wouldn't normally have when you're training. But having them that one day is not going to be a big deal. And rating the Reese's peanut butter cups from your kid's candy bag, that's only helping them out. And it's only helping their cavities out. So you're good to go for 1 or 2 of those.
Boy, you brought up the peanut butter cups. Now I feel personally attacked. Those are my favorites.
So it's like what my mom always says, and it's everything in moderation. Is that pretty much the golden standard?
Sometimes moms get it right.
Right. And my mom always gets it right. I'm going to put it out there. My mom always gets it right.
He does not listen to this podcast. You don't have to suck up like that.
Again, without beating a dead horse and overstating the obvious, it is about moderation. And again, every runner that's listening right now is going to have a different meal plan. They're going to have different caloric needs. They're going to have different things. So I'm thinking in terms of if you're training or if you're in the process of working for a better time in a marathon or just to complete it or anything like that, if you're putting in the time and effort to do all of that work, going and undoing it by overeating or, eating the wrong kinds of stuff, a lot of it is, again, counterintuitive, obviously, and it's not so much that you have to be so disciplined you can't have fun. I hope the message is have the fun and have all the good stuff. Just have the normal portions, one plate, and, again, enjoy the leftovers the second day and then the third day, as opposed to gorging one day.
Yeah. Now, when you do see the people, and I know there are some, I think there was one year where I entertained the idea of being one and that didn't work out. But when you see the people who try and go super strict on the holidays, if you could put a percentage on what percentage of people crash? Like they eventually fall off that discipline. They go head first into a box of pizza or into mashed potatoes or whatever. What's a percentage of the people who try and go strict and then end up falling on their face?
It's a very high percentage.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to say 75, 80% easily all day long. And that's where it's like, without getting too sciencey, that your body or your brain, I should say, works along a spectrum of control. It's called your locus of control. There's internal and external. And if you allow yourself to be too internally motivated on this spectrum, that means that whenever you have a win, you're like, I did it. I'm great. And that's good. You want that. But if you're all internally driven, when you fail, it's the same thing on the opposite side. I suck. I'm terrible. I'm worthless. And so when you go super strict on something like that, especially when you're not used to being super strict about something. I mean, there are some people that are crazy disciplined year in and year out. They are an anomaly, but there are people like that. So if you're like, okay, this year, I'm going to be super strict. I'm not going to have any candy. I'm not going to have any sweets, any soda. I'll allow myself a little stuffing and that's it. They're going to fail most of the time. And not fail in the terms of they're going to eat something bad. They're going to fail in what their mind has told them they need to do. And the minute they deviate from that locus of control kicks in internally and they're like, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew it. I'm out. And then it just goes to heck from there. It just goes downhill. And so the strategy again would be, don't be super restrictive. Don't be super like all or nothing. That's rarely a good idea. And I would say on a macro scale, because there will be some people that are listening right now saying, oh no, Pete, I can do it. I can get through the holidays and eat perfectly. And you know what? There probably are a few of you that can. But I've seen, and this is just from what I've seen, a lot of the people that I know who may be super dialed in on their nutrition and exercise for years, never allow a potato chip, never allow a sip of beer, never allow anything like that. You rarely the ones that do that for the long haul, for a lifespan.
Yeah.
So, training for one marathon is different than trying to be healthy the rest of your life, right? I kind of conflate the two, obviously, by what I do for a living. So we like sports performance and we like being healthy for our lifespan. So even if we're starting with, I want to get in shape to run a 5K or a 10K, that's the thing that starts the journey. If you are too restrictive, those people are generally not the ones that stay healthy or stay on that fitness grind for life. They'll do it for a 5-year period, maybe. And maybe you only know that person for a few years and then you move away and you think, oh man, I wish I could be more like that person. They've got it together. But when they're that super restrictive, it's usually indicating something else is not in balance, right? Yeah. They have that part down, but something else in their life isn't. And we deal with a lot of not just the nutrition and the exercise, but a lot of the behavior change stuff as well. And that's why I bring up that locus of control. So with our clients and our performance athletes and our just general trainees, we bring a lot of that in to teach those habits so that when the holidays come up, they don't have to be panicking and they don't have to fear. And one of the things, and I'm not trying to toot our own horn here, but one of the metrics that we use for success is a lot of gyms, they kind of basically just turn the lights on in December and just, if people show up, great. If not, they don't expect it. Yeah. We expect our training clients to show up every day. That doesn't matter. But that's because we've trained them to have that, and they can do it. They can go and have a glass of wine, a piece of pie, and whatever else was served Thanksgiving, and then come in the next day after Thanksgiving and do their normal training.
Sure. You mentioned behaviors and changing behaviors. Do you see a lot of change in behavior when you get to the holidays? Like the people who, they fall off, or, their cheat day turns into cheat week, turns into cheat holiday season. Do you see a lot of that?
Yes. And that's probably the most common thing. And what it is, well, my year didn't go exactly as I planned. I've only got 6 weeks left to go through Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'll kind of coast through the rest of the year, and then New Year's resolution, January 1, I'm back on track, baby. And we kind of have a thought of, if you have the idea to do something, why wait? Do it now. It doesn't have to be New Year's resolutions. We can have resolutions. It doesn't have to be in the new year. It could be, what is it today? Wednesday's resolution is I'm going to start keeping on track. But yes, I see a lot of people fall off, and they use the end of the year like, oh, well, there's a lot of holidays. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to be traveling. Work's going to be nuts. And I'm just not going to focus here, but starting January, get back on track and things will be good. But yes, that generally turns into, maybe mid-January they start back, but then they're out of shape and they get frustrated because they haven't been doing anything 6 weeks. Then they take another couple weeks off, and it's usually by the end of February, early March before they really start kicking in again. And long-term goals, that's not how you want to do it.
No, because the old runner adage, it's always easier to maintain than, quit, start over, and get back to where you were.
Absolutely.
Sure, the same in your world.
Yeah, same in my world, same in nutrition. I mean, like I said, it is discipline. It is something that I've had to work on. I feel good now. I mean, when I was younger as a trainer, and even when I was working with Katie, it was through a hospital system, and we had a great cafeteria, and it was very cheap for employees. I mean, like wicked cheap. And so I would go there, and every once in a while, I had salads, I had good, healthy, chicken salads, and everything was great and healthy. And then once a month, they would have chicken fried steak. Here it comes again. Chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, and corn. And I would get that with a soda once a month on a Friday. And as soon, no one says a word all week, all month long. Then that one day they're like, aren't you the wellness guy? Aren't you having that? And I'm like, yeah. Aren't you worried? Like, you can't do that. I'm like, I can, because the other however many meals, 20 some odd meals I'm going to have this week are what they need to be. And I'm not restricting myself, because guess what? I like chicken fried steak. And once a month at the cafeteria, I was going to have it.
That's right.
It's that behavior of not restricting yourself and setting a boundary in your brain, because you hear about work-life balance all the time. Yep. Exercise and nutrition need to be treated the same way. There has to be a balance between things. I mean, our society is built around food and drink, right? Every social event, there's food and drink. Rarely, when you show up with the veggie tray, you're the a-hole, right?
Hey, I like the veggie tray.
Hey, right?
As long as it's got tons of ranch.
There it is.
So those kind of things. It's like, so I want to partake in all that stuff too, and I'll allow myself. But again, if you allow yourself to do it and have the mindset of like, okay, I can do these things, but I know that the day before, the day after, the week before, the week after, I'm staying on track. I'm focused. I have a goal. This one day is not going to ruin my whole, they say the holiday season. We're talking about 2 days, right? Over a 6-week period, okay, you can say 3 days if you want to throw New Year's in over a 6 to 8 week period. You've got 3 days where you might be a little bit off your game. Okay, that's not going to affect you in the grand scheme of things.
So let's say you're sitting down at your Thanksgiving Day dinner, lunch, whatever, or Christmas Day, whichever day it is. You have maybe some options on the table that are healthier than others. What's maybe a little something we could reach for, that's on the healthier side, maybe not going to set us back as far, And what are some things avoid if at all possible?
All right. I'm going to lose some viewers here or some listeners.
No, that is not allowed. That is absolutely not allowed.
Oh, now I want to know. Okay, what is it?
Easy on the gravy.
Oh, ouch. Okay.
I didn't say no gravy.
Please, Pete.
But you've got your plate of stuffing and your turkey right next to it, and if it's floating because you have that much gravy on there, that's an issue. Okay. So a little drizzle on each, perfect. Okay, perfect. Yeah. The one thing that's underutilized, I mean, a lot of people love your green bean casserole, but the green bean casseroles that's not the healthiest option there because of what it's cooked with.
Right.
But it's so that's something. But your yams and your sweet potatoes, again, there's a lot of butter in that, depending on how it's cooked. You could get by with something like that. That's not going to be the worst thing, so maybe go more with that than extra gravy or making your turkey float on your plate with it.
Does that include the marshmallows that go on top of the yams, or is that no marshmallows?
I'm not sure I follow on that one.
Well, like candied yams, candied sweet potatoes.
No.
Pete, have you never had marshmallows cooked over the top of the sweet potatoes?
Of course I have.
Okay, all right. Let's check it.
But this would definitely be without that.
Oh, right. Okay. All right.
So avoid that if possible.
Avoid that. And then there's always the, I'll go back and get my salad after I sit down and eat this.
Hell no. Who does that?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous talk right there. The salad can just go away for a day.
Hey, and I'm the one where that's what I'll skip first, of course. But that's something that, you can get some healthy stuff in it. Obviously, you guys know what a salad is. No big deal. But get the salad. Use your salad. And that's going to help fill you up. Yeah. Right? So that you're not overdoing it with everything else. Right. Eat the salad first, then have, good sized portions of each thing. And I would say, to answer your question most directly, those are the things to avoid, right? But you can have all of it just in smaller portions of it. You can have your candied yams with your marshmallows, Katie. But
thank you. Now you're my favorite person again.
But
why you gotta bring the butts in there?
One spoonful. Don't go crazy. And that's the thing. It's just the mentality of it's the holidays, I'm going to go crazy. That doesn't have to happen. You can still enjoy all the food in the company. That doesn't mean it has to be a mound on your plate. So when I say one plate, I'm not talking how high vertically can you stack it.
Right.
It's a normal size plate.
I was hoping that was the loophole.
Yeah, well, I had to cover all my bases here.
Yeah, trust me, I had the same thought as well. It's like, well, I could stack it really high. If my plate is gigantic, I might be set. Yeah. But the time is ticking away on this episode. But I do want to ask you about one more thing, because even Thanksgiving dinner, all of December into New Year's, talk about alcohol as it pertains to maintaining our training, because alcohol, while it's not the greatest for you, it can have lasting effects that could last a day or two, which could still affect your training. So just speak to us a little bit about alcohol, do's and don'ts, avoids, you can haves. I don't know, because Christmas parties, holidays, New Year's.
Hey, yeah, and I'm a big craft beer guy, so I'm certainly no teetotaler here. I would say the best thing to do is, again, moderation, but if you like wine, have a glass of wine with dinner. If you like beer at a Christmas party or something like that, one or two. Be social, and if you're a social drinker, have that. One of the things that I do, and this is something I adopted year round, but it definitely started in the holidays, and it started in the holidays around first part of COVID. We're at home. I couldn't travel. It was the first Christmas I didn't go home and see my kids. It sucked. Normally I'm at the gym 15 hours. I'm still at the gym right now. I don't have a lot of alcohol at the house, but when I'm sitting at home and we're doing virtual training, I'm going to the grocery store. There's beer around the house. I'm having 2 or 3 beers a day, and maybe 2 or 3 is not enough I'm not getting drunk. I'm not leaving the house driving. I'm not doing anything like that. But those calories, especially in my case, craft beers, 300 plus calories per beer.
Yep.
Right. Yay. So 900 calories or so extra, even if you're not getting drunk. The alcohol, when you metabolize it overnight, what happens is your body is not resting. So even if you are drunk, or if you're not drunk, if you fall asleep and you sleep solidly for 8 hours, or we'll say you are asleep for 8 hours, you're not getting the deep, restful sleep when you have alcohol in your system. So even if you don't overdo it and get drunk and crazy at the party, even if you drink in moderation, but you're doing it more often because it's the holidays, in air quotes there, you will be affecting your sleep. So even if you're not getting drunk, even if you think, oh, I can deal with the extra few calories, from the beers, it's not letting you sleep as well if you're doing it more and more often. So what do? If you still want to be social and you have a bunch of parties, you can get some weird looks, but nowadays there's some great non-alcoholic beers on the market now. I won't plug any, I don't want to, do anything like that, but there are a couple brands out there that taste really good. They're geared towards athletes who like to drink, like to have a beer after a run. I bring them on my trail runs. So I'll go up in a trail run. I get to the top, I'll crack one of those. And it's awesome looking over these great views that we have in South Carolina, have one of these non-alcoholic beers and then run back down. And there's, 50 calories maybe and no alcohol. But that way, if you're at a party and you bring that as your 6-pack or whatever, you can feel social, you're having the beer. And it's not like the non-alcoholic beer 10 years ago, like O'Doul's or something like that. No disrespect to O'Doul's, but they have come a long way in that field. And I think that's a great thing to do, even just going to your in-laws' house for the holidays. You don't want to be the drunk idiot. There's always that one guy. You always hear the stories. You don't want that to be you. And if you like to drink and put them away, that non-alcoholic beer is really tasty, and you can have fun with it.
There we go. All right. Well, Katie, do you have anything else? I think we've covered the holidays.
That was actually pretty interesting. I never really thought about the fact that your body is still working while you're sleeping. So you're not really getting that good sleep, which also affects, your entire next day, your entire week, all that stuff. So
yeah, I found that very fascinating as well, because a lot of times you will hear people say, I have a glass of wine or I have a beer before bed and it helps me fall asleep faster. Okay, well, you might fall asleep faster, but it doesn't mean you're sleeping better. I found that very fascinating.
And if any of your viewers wear that watches that track these metrics and sleep patterns, it will tell you if you're in a deep sleep or a light sleep, and it'll tell you how many hours or how many minutes you spent in that sleep phase. And it's really interesting. You'll notice if you're monitoring days after you drink or nights after you drink versus a normal rest, you're gonna have less time in that deep sleep. So even if you sleep the same amount of time, less of it was in that deep sleep, which is your restorative sleep when your body's really repairing itself and recovering, so that you can go out and run at the same intensity the next day or the day after, whenever your next training session is. So even if you go out and your run feels hard, you're not getting the same training effect because your body doesn't have enough stored energy because of that.
Wow. Man, that's good to know. That's really good to know. Did well on my run today. I got good sleep last night.
I am obviously a newbie to the whole running world. And I thought, it's pretty fascinating that y'all do the whole beer thing at the end of the races. Like, I would have never thought that. And one day maybe we ought to go into why that's a thing. Maybe talk about that in another episode sometime.
Sure. Yeah, we definitely should do an episode on kind of post-race recovery.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good one. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. This was really great. So, Pete, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate it.
You bet.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll have Pete back on. And I think our next topic needs to be post-race recovery.
And I think in the next couple of episodes, we're going to have some big things coming up that Pete has nicely agreed to do along with us. So I've said it now, Pete, you're in it. You can't get out of it.
Nor would I want to.
There we go. So yeah, we do have big announcements coming up soon. Don't forget to go out and register for the KC Santa Dash. Remember, sign up and use the discount code PACK. Let them know the Back of the Pack sent you. And that's going to do it for this week. Next weekend is the Loggerhead Half Marathon. We will wrap up that race and we'll find some good stuff to talk about. So I'm Kyle. I'm the host. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Pete. We are brought to you by OKKC Sports. And then, of course, Katie is our producer. Everyone have a great week of training, and we will see you next week.